Now I'm going to play you something from Garrett Wilson, who's pictured behind you there in one of those photos. Garrett Wilson's feeling good about the Jets. In fact, here's his bold message about what he's expecting this season.
I have a feeling it's going to be a special year. It's the 5th year. I'm excited to get another opportunity to do what I've always dreamed of and just play some meaningful football and into the winter. And we got a special opportunity this year, man. I'm excited for my 5th year. It's crazy.
What does a special year look like for Garrett Wilson and the Jets, Joe?
It's good to hear that. We all love Garrett, my favorite player on and off the field right now on the team. My kid's favorite player on and off the field. One of the few guys who's actually had a couple very nice highlights that you can celebrate and cheer for. For Garrett, I hope it's 17 games. I hope it's breaking his single season yardage total, which, I think that get 1,200 yards for the first time. That'd be nice to see. I think he has a quarterback in place if Geno's healthy who could do that for him. Get up around 8, 9, 10 touchdowns. I think he missed a lot of time last year, and I think a lot of people have forgotten how good he can be. When you looked at some of the offseason rankings that came out and where he's thought of league-wide, that unfortunately is just a function of being hurt, playing with Justin Fields, Brady Cook, Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, some of the other situations that he's had to deal with. Can he go out, play 17 games, have 1,250 yards, 10 touchdowns, and reestablish himself as one of the best receivers in the NFL? I think that would be a nice step for him. And he is a huge building block and carrot for whoever the first-round quarterback ends up being next year, which is where I think all this ends.
I'm right there with you. And, for Garrett in particular, this might be his best chance to put together the best season of his career. He doesn't have to worry about like Devontae Adams coming in mid-season. He doesn't have to worry about Zach Wilson being his quarterback or Justin Fields last year. Like Garrett Wilson, I think, is in a spot where you have a competent quarterback. We believe in Geno Smith. Frank Reich, no matter how anyone feels about him, should have enough football knowledge to be able to design an offense to feature Garrett Wilson with a ton of targets. Like this could be the best season of Garrett's career. And I just hope, even if the Jets aren't good, Joe, Garrett puts up his numbers, has a big year, because you just don't want to hear the rumblings of him being so unhappy. He wants out. Like, again, there's a real path to the Jets finding some real stability, even if it's not with Aaron Glenn, because I do believe in Muji. I just hope that they could get Garrett the ball enough. He's healthy, has a big year. So he's truly a part of this going forward.
100%. He is definitely one of the foundational pieces. To have a lead receiver in place just puts the Jets further ahead of where they were a lot of the other times they were drafting a quarterback early. I mean, Zach Wilson's lead receiver in year one was Corey Davis, I think. We all remember Darnold's receiver situation. His first couple of years here, it was not pretty. Robbie Anderson was effectively his best receiver. The Jets have just struggled with this consistently. So, whoever they draft next year, coming in with Garrett, A.D. Mitchell, Cooper, Sadiq, Mason Taylor, Brees, Tippmann are all under contract. Membu and Olu are under contract. The infrastructure is there, and Garrett's a key part of that. Garrett will likely be a captain again, as he should be. I think he's very highly thought of in that locker room and around the building. And it'd be nice to just see him out there making plays again. Last year, in many ways, was a lost season for him.
One thing Garrett said yesterday that I certainly thought was a positive was when he was talking about the veteran additions to the team. I'll play the quick soundbite, and then we could talk more on the other side.
Yeah, I would say just the communication line and the way AG wanted to build maybe his guys on the team that he wants to talk to and get that feedback from, and then bounce his thoughts of, we got a feedback group or a leadership group that's been going on through OTAs, and that is just fluid. It's like we're all aligned, and I kind of said that before, but that's one of the main differences I've noticed. And maybe it was his first year, so he's trying to feel things out, figure out who the guys are that he wants part of a unit like that. But this year we're doing that, and we got some guys in there that just really get this thing, like I've said, and they're gonna help us, get over that hump.
I think the Jets' floor has been raised when you add guys like Minka Fitzpatrick and Demario Davis and even Geno Smith. Their ceiling, I still think, comes down to the head coach and the quarterback, of course, actually playing well, because it's still a coach and QB league. But I think stuff like that does matter, because I don't want to do the whole, let's root for 0-17 in July. Like, if this team's going to do anything, like, they're going to need to be able to have some guys who have won before that could help coach up some of these young players. And that's their biggest pathway to surprising, if some of these young players are a lot better than most expect right away.
Absolutely, right? You just 3 first-round picks, a high second-round pick. The year before, you draft Membu, Taylor, Azaria Thomas early. you want these guys in an environment where there are veterans who have won in the league and can teach them how to play and work day to day. DeMario will do that. Onyemata will do that. Minka Fitzpatrick will do that. Gino will do that. I'm sure that leadership council includes all those guys, along with Garrett and probably Brees and a few other players like Harrison Phillips, who are good examples of how to be a professional. And you want a mix of young talent that are going to be long-term pieces, but also guys who can show everyone in the building how to be a pro and just how to be respectable week to week. The Jets weren't just bad last year. They were embarrassing most weeks and got clowned by teams in their division, teams running up to score late, teams doing backflips in the end zone, just like embarrassing shit, unfortunately. And you need someone who is going to step in and look, there's weeks they're going to be out talented and out coached, but can you hang around? Can you throw some punches? Can you win some division games? Can you be competitive? And can all your rookies and young players not have a lost season? Because the last 5 games of last year were lost games. You might as well just sour milk, throw it out. Nobody learned anything from those games. Everyone on the field is basically out of the NFL at this point or won't play in the NFL. You don't want to waste 5 games like that. Every game matters. Every rep matters for Omar Cooper, D'Angelo Pons, Kenyon Sadiq, David Bailey, any of the other guys, Klubnik, Cooper, Daryl Jackson. Like these games matter and these seasons matter. And having just more adults in the room who know how to play and know how to practice, I think will go a long way. And even just on the field, having DeMario next to a guy like Jamie and Sherwood hopefully brings him back to the player he was a few years ago.
The Jake Asman Show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Check out PrizePicks right now. If you're a sports fan, they have something for everyone, especially if you're one of my listeners and you're gearing up for the upcoming Jets season. For player picks on PrizePicks, you just pick a player you like and you go more or less on a few of their stats. Check out some of the numbers they have for some of your favorite Jet players: Geno Smith, Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper Jr., Kenyon Sadiq, and many more. PrizePicks should be your go-to. And check out their new offer right now. Play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you need to do is sign up and use that code HMA. That's PrizePicks code HMA. Download the app now or click the link in the description to download the PrizePicks app today. Joe, in terms of Geno Smith, what are reasonable expectations for Geno? We know he's better than Justin Fields, but what can you reasonably expect from Geno Smith going into this season with the Jets?
I try to remember and remind people last year he was bad and he was in a bad situation. Probably one of the only situations in the NFL clearly worse than the Jets. And in 15 games, he threw for 3,000 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 17 interceptions. He's in a better situation now. He is a year older, but he's not that old. So if he's going to play 15, 16, 17 games, it's not crazy to think he could throw for 33 or 3,400 yards, which for the Jets is a lot. It is much more than we're used to seeing. And, can he be in the mid-20s on touchdown passes? I think those are around fair expectations based on what we saw last year. If you look, there was no Bowers last year. There was no offensive line. It was Chip Kelly for half the year and Pete Carroll's son. He's got pass catchers this year and he's got talent and he has a better offensive line. So, if he's going to be healthy and he's going to play the overwhelming majority of the season, he should be over 3,000 yards. He should be over 20 touchdowns. And ideally, he's going to have turnovers, but ideally they don't spiral out of control.
When you look at Geno Smith, his career is just so fascinating because he, of course, got a chance to start right away. Then he goes down the long road of being a backup. I think he's in a spot now, Joe, where even if it's not with the Jets, like he's playing for his starting career in the NFL. Like you got to get the most motivated version of Geno Smith possible, because if he doesn't do well with the Jets, no team is just handing him a starting spot after he quarterbacks the worst team in football a year ago in Vegas. Comes to the Jets, it doesn't work. So even if Geno's not here with the Jets next year, like he's got every reason to be motivated to remain a starter in the league. And I don't need to tell you and anyone watching, the difference in salary between being a backup versus being one of the starters in the league is gigantic. So whatever Geno's got left, like we better see it, and we better see it early, because if they sputter out of the gate and they're out of it, you just know at some point they're going to play Klubnik. So Geno's got to play well to hold that off from happening at any point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good opportunity for him. Like you said, if the Jets are 2-10, Klubnik's going to play the last 5 games, and he should play the last 5 games in that scenario. So he's got sort of this opening stretch of the season where if Geno plays good ball and throws for 3,500 yards and the Jets go 7-10 or 8-9, he'll probably be the starting quarterback week 1 next year. Now, he's not going to start all season. They'll eventually hand it over to a first-round rookie, but he could stick around and be that bridge quarterback and help that transition, not dissimilar to what the Giants recently did with Jackson Dart. Or he could get a starting job somewhere else if he's that good and he gets the Jets from 3 wins to 8 wins. So there's a lot on the line for him if he doesn't want to kind of fade into being a backup. He's 35, 36. He's probably got a couple more years where he expects to play in the NFL and be relatively highly paid. And again, the Titans were a bad team last year. Can he do what he did last year? He went to New England and outplayed Drake May in week 1 last year. Then everything went off the rails. But can he do the same thing week 1 this year and then kind of keep the Jets above water in that NFC North stretch before they come back home and play Cleveland, another team I think the Jets will be better than? That's on him. If he can do that, and they're 2-3 or 3-2 and then 4-4, like he's going to hold on to this job for the majority of the season.
Give me your thoughts on Cade Klubnik getting what seems to be a real opportunity here to be this team's backup quarterback week 1 in Nashville.
It's a little scary because if Geno gets hurt week 1 or week 2, I don't know if Klubnik's really going to be ready to step in and be a starter. I don't know if he's going to be ready to step in and be a starter at any time this year, to be fair. He's a 4th-round rookie. There's not a lot of great options out there from a veteran perspective. I don't have a problem with the Jets for the first 2-3 weeks of training camp. Just letting him get as many reps as possible. He's going to play a ton in the preseason. They can look around league-wide after week 1 of the preseason, and if they want to go get a backup quarterback, they can. They could do it for a late day 3 pick swap and go get an Andy Dalton type if they really feel like they have to, because Klubnik's struggling and they feel like he's just not ready to be QB2. I would bet on him being QB2 as of this point. I think he'll play well in the preseason. He played a ton of college football at a high level. He'll be going against mostly backups and practice squad players for most of the preseason. There's some risk with it. It's if Geno gets hurt, they could be in a very bad spot early in the season where he's just looking like Fields looked at times last year. But I want to wait and see until after the first preseason game. That would probably be the flex point where they go make a move. If they're like, he's just not ready, or someone else looks really good league-wide and they want to bring in another veteran on a 1-year deal, as Geno security.
I think that's spot on, because I think Klubnik's competing not just against Zappe and Brady Cook for whatever that's worth. He's also competing against a potential available option on a different team around the league. And there's some names you can connect the dots to with Frank Reich, like an Andy Dalton, for example, of course. So I'm with you. I think they should play Klubnik as much as possible in the preseason. Like, I don't need to see Bailey Zappi. Like, play Klubnik the entire game against Tampa or against the Giants or Pittsburgh, I think is the other team on their schedule. Why not? You got absolutely nothing to lose seeing what you have in them.
Yeah, Geno's not going to play a lot in preseason, nor should he. It's going to be a lot of Klubnik, and that makes a ton of sense with how the preseason is structured now. We all know what Bailey Zappi is. We all know what Brady Cook is. Maybe they'll play some like late 4th quarters, but that is the time for Klubnik to get a ton of reps, and that's why you traded up and got him in the 4th round.
Let's talk about these rookies besides Klubnik. David Bailey having a really good practice today. I just saw he had another sack. So
David Bailey Day at camp. I love it.
Big Bailey Day, which we like to see. So in terms of him, and then we'll get to the other first-round picks in particular, what are reasonable expectations for Bailey? Number 2 pick, and remember, a big part of the conversation was he's the most ready-to-play pass rush guy you could add to the team. So I'm expecting him to have a real impact as the number 2 pick. But what are reasonable expectations for Jet fans from David Bailey?
I mean, I want him to play more than 50% of the snaps, 50, 60% of the snaps, 7, 8 sacks as a rookie. I don't think is crazy to ask as the 2nd overall pick and the highest defensive drafted player in Jets history. So I think it's fair to have some real expectations. He shouldn't be a 2-3 sack guy. Can he get 7 or 8, play 60% of the snaps, and get better as the season progresses? Sadiq and Cooper, get better each week, catch between 40 and 50 passes, get in the end zone a few times. Have a plan for each of those guys, especially Sadiq, who's a unique player. Catch the football, don't have drops, break some tackles, show some of that run after the catch ability. Pons, I think by the end of the year, will pretty clearly be the best player in the secondary right there with Minka. I think he'll end up playing a ton inside and outside, be involved in some turnovers for God's sakes, which is something the Jets badly need. Klubnik, if he could win QB2 and gets a couple starts late in the year, I think most people will be reasonably happy with that. If he leaves this season being like he could be our long-term backup, that's a win for a 4th-round rookie. Cooper, if he's just a backup interior offensive lineman, that's fine. If Jackson's a rotational interior defensive lineman who shows some long-term potential, you're okay with that. We all like VJ Payne's upside. Just make the team be a core special teamer, and maybe by the end of the year, play a little defense. It's not like the Jets are overloaded with proven talent at safety beyond Minka. So all these guys should make the team, right? You want this entire draft class on the 53. And Cooper and Sadiq, not only they're going to be first or second in targets, I think that will be Garrett and Brees again, and they also have AD will be up in the mix, but you want them to stay very involved, right? These were first-round picks. They don't, you don't want Cooper behind like Isaiah Williams on the depth chart. And you want Sadiq involved consistently as a pass catcher, lined up both at tight end and receiver.
Do you trust Frank Reich to be able to utilize Kenyon Sadiq's very unique skill set?
I need to see it to believe it. He was apparently a very big advocate of drafting him, maybe a couple of years away from the NFL, inspired some creativity for players like him. We haven't seen anything to date that shows that Reich will have an idea of how to maximize a player like him. I'm confident that Reich will maximize Brees Hall. I saw him do that with Jonathan Taylor. I'm confident that he'll be a capable coach for Geno and do some of the basics right. But really using a guy like Sadiq, who is just a unique kind of player. He's kind of a half receiver, half tight end, but he is a pretty good blocker. You can line him up in the backfield. You could use him on jet sweeps. The Jets, they spent the 16th pick on him, right? He can't be a gadget player who plays 12 snaps a game. He needs to be out there a lot. And how do you scheme him up in the screen game, which he was excellent at in college? How do you use him in the red zone? It's one of the fair questions to ask about Frank Reich. And hopefully a guy like Seth Ryan, who spent time with Ben Johnson, could be a positive influence in the room on being creative.
Well, the red zone offense in particular has been the worst in the NFL so many years in
seemingly
a row.
Forever.
And again, you can move the ball between the 20s, but if you're settling for field goals, that's how you're going to lose. I just hope they have a real plan for the red zone offense, because between Brees and Braylon Allen, and then obviously you look at the two tight ends that should both play a huge role, there's no excuse for them to be a bottom of the barrel red zone offense this season.
No, they have size, right? They've used 2 early round picks on tight ends. They have AD Mitchell, who was a highly drafted big body receiver. Garrett's one of the better receivers in the league. You have a huge backup running back in Braylon Allen. Brees, when he gets opportunities down there, can find his way into the end zone. And Geno can move a little bit too. It's not like he's immobile. Like, you can use his legs if you need to down there. So this has long been a pain point for the Jets, always settling for field goals and just not scoring enough touchdowns, period, for many, many years. And if they can score touchdowns and not kick field goals, I think the defense will be okay enough where they're going to be in most games because they have talent on offense. They will move the football. They just have to finish these drives and get into the end zone.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.